Just zipping through hour two here, kicking it off with another money guest and checking in on the markets. Dow up 500, Bitcoin up 129. Having a pretty good day. NASDAQ even up 150. And, the NASDAQ is quite tech heavy, and the tech stocks seem to be leading the way in both indexes. If you want to be great in life, you got to be bold. And if you want to be bold in business, you got to call on one person and one person only. He joins us all the time. David Grasso is with us right now. He's the anchor of Bold Business, digital TV show about millennial economic empowerment. He's also the media director for Gen FKD, a nationwide financial literacy nonprofit. Dave, thanks for joining us again, brother. How are you?
Always a pleasure to be here, John, to talk about money.
Let's talk about that millennial money.
Yeah. So, stocks are kind of all over the place. It never ceases to surprise us where the stock market goes, does it? Everyone was anticipated this would be a crash, and now look, we're up 500 today.
Yeah, I don't see a crash. I think, I always talk about this on my show, Dave, when we're talking money, that, the institutional markets are kind of the best barometer of certainty out there, because when the markets have all this volatility and there's big dips, it's because the big institutions are uncertain about what's going to happen. I tend to feel like the more they see of Joe Biden hiding, the institutions feel like Trump's going to win, and there's a little more comfort that the market's not ripping all over the place. But stock futures are rallying because people are voting, are betting on a volatile election season. What are young people doing? I'm hearing a lot of young people, they're on Robinhood, they're investing $5, $100, $20. Is stocks the place to be for the cool kids?
Well, a lot of us, speaking of uncertainty, a lot of us are, if we have the ability, are buying houses, we're investing in stocks. We're kind of concerned about the monetary environment out there, right? There's been so much stimulus, so much government spending, so much relief, which definitely is needed. But, at some point will begin to affect, us inflation-wise. And we already see prices creeping up with a lot of different things. So I think for young people, just like older people, we're looking for a way to kind of, stash our money in a place that will grow in a way that maybe cash will not going forward.
So let me ask you this. It seems like, I know a bunch of kids that I coached in high school. They went to great colleges. They're just getting out of college. And I see them and they say, hey, coach, what's happening? What are you doing? You looking for a job? No, we're on unemployment. Everybody's getting paid money. And there's no jobs. They're telling me there's no jobs. So these are kids that had a regular, great education, went to great colleges. They can't find jobs. My own son, who's 14, he's a sophomore in high school, he said, Dad, remote learning is making me dumber. He said, I'm dumber because they give us the work in the morning. We have all day to do it. We can Google things. Is this going to cause an achievement gap between some of these younger kids who are getting gypped out of college and high school right now?
I definitely think so. And these all are long existing issues, right? Wealth gaps and achievement gaps in this country are nothing new. Unfortunately, the pandemic has revealed, again, those gaps that were already there. And even worse, it's made them a lot more severe, at least in the short term. And unfortunately, I agree with your son. Remote learning is not that great. In some areas where, there's active transmission of the virus, it's the only option they have right now. But eventually we will have to return to normalcy. I think the debate is, how long do we delay that? And what are the real term consequences for young people, which, let's face it, John, you have your own kids. 6 months in the life of a young person really, really matters learning wise. And it's hard to recover when it's completely lost.
No kidding. And, in a crazy time, right, where, all these left-wing progressives are talking about defund the police, abolish the police, 70% of the moms in inner cities say, we want police. We need police. So the lower income areas are where a lot of the crime is, and the moms who, we know there's a lot of single moms in that community, the moms want cops because they want their kids to be safe. And we've seen decades of Democrat politicians going into the inner city saying, vote for me, I'll get you everything you want. But we know there's an education gap, right? The education is just not as good in the lower income areas. So these people are under attack now for no reason at all, with both their safety and their education, the two main things that the federal government is supposed to provide?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, John. Let's start with, what we saw happen in Minnesota should have triggered a talk about police reform. I think a lot of us can agree that the police can always be better and reformed, and somehow this devolved into a defund the police topic, which is beyond me. I am an advocate for police reform. A lot of corruption through police unions and lack of accountability. That to me does not translate into defund the police. Now, on the education front, we're talking school choice disproportionately benefits urban kids. And I think that they deserve a fair shot. In fact, our whole system is a mockery if kids don't have a fair shot. And I think should be always our mission, to make sure that every American kid receives the same type of education, no matter what zip code they're born in. And
No
we have
doubt.
a long way to go on
And
that
hey,
front.
listen, here's the funny part. If you turn on the left-wing media, they're telling you that, oh, Trump is dangerous, we got to follow the science, we're following the science. By every measure that you just talked about, inner city families want school choice. They want charter schools, school choice. They want to be able to choose where they go to schools. And when they have school choice, those kids perform exactly the same as every other kid. So one of the main things the left doesn't want is school choice, because they control all the teachers' unions.
Well, and then we go back to unions, right? And here is how we link these two arguments that really affect urban people disproportionately, right? And especially communities of color, right? These unions do not have the end user in mind.
No.
And I think police unions and teachers unions are on the same page. They exist as an interest group for themselves, and they don't have my safety, as you can see, I'm in an urban area, or my potential children's education in mind. And I think that's a big disconnect.
No doubt. Hey, Dave, let me tell you something. Right here in New York, we got this guy, Michael Mulgrew. He's the president of the UFT, United Federation of Teachers. Okay, the guy's a socialist and a Marxist right off the bat. I know him for 20 years, okay? He's a bum, all right? At the same time, New York City and New York State need to get federal funding for their schools. So the mayor and the governor are saying we're going to open the schools, but they're using Mulgrew as a little puppet to say I'm going to make the teachers go on strike if we don't have the right testing in place and all this other stuff. Every teacher I talk to, except I know a few that have pre-existing conditions, but every teacher I talk to says, this is crazy. We don't want to go on strike. Nurses didn't go on strike. Bus drivers didn't go on strike. Why would teachers want to go on strike and lose money out of their pocket because their gangster union leader wants to shake down the city? That's the whole story going on with this union.
I think teachers, especially if they're advanced in age, if they have pre-existing conditions, in the same way that students that are in the same situation should be accommodated. And I don't think they should lose their jobs. If you're above 65 years of age, if you're a diabetic, if you're a cancer survivor, something like that, these people should not lose their jobs. On the other hand, if you're perfectly healthy and able to go back into the classroom, and it's done appropriately, which unfortunately in some cases it can't be done appropriately, to the best of our ability, we should try to reopen.
Yeah, look, and most of these teachers, I mean, Tracy, my kid's mom, was a teacher, member of the union, proud member of the union. Most of these teachers have all kinds of holiday and vacation and stuff in the bank. If they don't feel great about it, they could take a little medical leave. I'm sure the union will make it work for them. But to me, it feels like the union is speaking a voice that their members do not echo. And it really stinks for, right down to the kids in the worst, education system in New York. Let me ask you this. There's some reports that the largest school district in New York say they don't feel safe returning to school. Schools lack windows that open, ample supply of soap, masks. I feel like this should be easy for the Board of Ed to fix up.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Our schools are so broken here in the city, and you can see that in achievement scores. It's hard to fix them in time. So there's two sides of this argument, right, John? Which is remote learning doesn't work for kids who don't have digital access. And there's no way really to bridge that gap, right? We can try to give everyone computers. We can try to give everyone internet, but that doesn't really solve the problem, especially if their parents aren't home and they're working, right? So I would be an advocate for choice, right? For people to have the choice to send their kids to school and people to have the choice to homeschool their kids. So that's why I advocate for a hybrid system, and really school districts should give both their teachers and students the choice to do what they feel comfortable with.
All right. We got to leave it there, brother. David Grasso from Bold Business. Thank you, my brother. Hopefully we'll see you soon. We'll be back in studio and we'll have a real liquid lunch together like the old days.
Sounds fantastic. Thanks, John.
All right. You got to check out David Grasso on Bold Business. He's also the media director for Gen FKD. News of the day is coming at you right after this.